Yo, what's going on, y'all? I'm Manny Diaz.
How's it going? It's Matt Trammell.
Yes,
San
sir.
Angelo Live. Another episode of Top 5 in 325, Manny.
Top 5 in the 325, and boy, do we have a show for you today.
Yep.
We're talking the main topic, obviously, COVID-19. We'll be discussing this matter, and we'll be fielding a number of questions from you guys with our very own local health authority, Dr. James Vretis. This is the highlight of our show.
Yeah.
But we also have a few other things.
Let's talk about just some of the news that's going on around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, man, the Shannon drive-through clinic, the drive-through testing is back. So, Shannon Medical Center announced Wednesday that they will be reopening their drive-through clinic at 4251 Sunset Drive. Because as, of course, the number of cases are going up in San Angelo, so is the amount of testing needed. There's currently 645 active cases in Tom Green County as of yesterday.
Wow. So Shannon is encouraging those who are feeling symptoms to come and take a test. The test is free and no appointment is required. In a few moments, like we said, we'll be joined by local health authority Dr. James Vretis as he joins the show. All right, to the number 4 story. It is the San Angelo Public Defender's Office. Tom Green County Commissioner's Office voted on Tuesday to fund a public defender's office for criminal cases in Tom Green County. Local attorney Tip Hargrove told the court that a number of defenders in San Angelo are aging out and that we are in desperate need for this new office.
That's right, Manny. The county did receive a $2.2 million grant, though, from the state that will give them enough money to pay for the lawyers, including the top dog, who is scheduled to make upwards to $180,000 a year. Yep. So number 3, if you've driven down College Hills recently, you may have wondered what's going on at the old Shannon Medical Clinic. Well, in 2019, the First Community Federal Credit Union actually purchased the building and is currently remodeling it.
Yeah. Vicky Loso with the credit union says that the building will become their new mortgage and business office. The reasoning behind the purchase, she claims, is because of how fast the credit union is growing, which is a good thing for our local economy.
Always.
All right. Number 2, the crash with the bomb on U.S. Highway 67. You want to tune in for this. At around 11 a.m. on Thursday, deputies with the Tom Green County Sheriff's Office were dispatched to U.S. Highway 67 near Harriet Road for a major crash. When they arrived, they discovered a UPS truck that had been crashed into a smaller car. The driver of the smaller vehicle admitted to crashing on purpose and threatened that a bomb was in his car.
Yeah, man, it was pretty
We
crazy.
can't make this up right now.
I was there yesterday. I've never been in a traffic jam in San Angelo, but I was in a traffic jam for about an hour in that thing. It was crazy. So the Abilene's bomb squad was called to the scene, but luckily no bomb was found. Unfortunately for San Antonio's Richard Hill, he was arrested and charged for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. As I looked just now, he is currently still in the Tom Green County Detention Facility.
Wow,
So,
what a weird story.
Yeah, very weird. So the number 1 story that's going on right now is next week the West Texas Legislative Summit's coming into town, Manny. And it's going to be at Angelo State.
Yeah, that's right, Trammell. And this year is going to be one of the best ever. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's going to
We've
be
heard
huge.
somebody say that before, since it would be pretty much, I can't say what's on the script there, but we'll just say it's a collection of politicians. They're the who's who. But anywho, it's going to be good. Dan Crenshaw, he's of the greater Houston area, the congressman from that area. He'll actually be in attendance, which is huge because this guy, we see him all over national platforms. Making cases for the GOP. If you also tune into the Joe Rogan podcast, you've also heard him on there. So yes, tickets are on sale, but if you aren't able to go, you can check out the entire event from this year's media sponsor, San Angelo Live. Yes, right. We'll be having live streams of interviews with these politicians, with these officials. Joe Hyde and the crew will be there, Trammell and I included. So we're excited for that one.
Yeah, to get you guys ready, we figured we just end this little top 5 segment with one of the most American videos.
That's the perfect way to put that.
Dan Crenshaw and August Pfluger. So stay tuned. Right after that, it will be Dr. James Vretis.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, will be to save Texas. To do so, you must recruit an exceptional team of congressional candidates. They must be courageous, patriotic, and absolutely fearless. Time is of the essence. The nation's future is dependent upon your success.
You still know how to fly one of these things?
Dan Crenshaw.
I'm putting a team together, Wesley. You in?
You know I wouldn't miss this for the world, right? Wait. I think August is going to want to come too.
You guys looking for a real pilot? Let me get cleaned up.
You're an F-22 pilot. What were you doing working under a helicopter?
I have no idea what I was doing, but typical Air Force fixing the Army's problems.
This guy, Dan, bro, you could have just texted me, man. Why you gotta jump out of an airplane? It would have been way
Because
easier.
it's cooler to jump. Never mind.
And I want to thank these officers for a job well done.
Hey, Beth, when you're finished over there, Texas could use your help.
What the?
Hey, Tony, Texas has a better use for your talents.
Hey guys, who's next?
No.
I got this.
Well, as Matt Trammell said, it's likely the most American, the most Texas video that you'll ever see on the interwebs. Hey, this is Top 5 in the 325. We are now transitioning into Ask San Angelo Live. I'm Manny Diaz. And hey, we have, for the next few moments, the next probably half hour here, we have probably one of the most respected
I get
folks
further and further in. By the time I hit the 90 days,
and it is Dr. James Vretis, our local health authority, and he'll be joined by Joe Hyde and Matt Trammell. So, in fact, we have these fine gentlemen hanging out at the desk with us right now. And hey, Joe Hyde, welcome back to Texas.
It's so nice to be back in Texas, you know. But anyway, hey, I'm leaning way over on the side. Let me get moved over here.
There we go.
You know, Dr. Vretis. This is Dr. James Vretis to my left. It's to my left. It's been a while since I've done this, Manny. I can't do it.
We'll get you through it.
Anyway, Dr. Vretis, of course, he's an emergency ER doctor at Shannon Hospital. But more importantly, he was elected by his peers. I'm just kidding. He was chosen back before COVID to be the health authority, and they told him all you have to do is go to the health clinic once a week and check charts, right?
Correct, yes.
But then you got stuck with the COVID thing, and now you become an expert on infectious diseases and the way COVID spreads in the Concho Valley and things like that. Tell me about being an ER doc for Shannon. What kind of explain how things work over there?
Okay, well, basically, the ER docs at Shannon are all residency trained, board certified docs, so we're specialists in emergency medicine. We have several docs there that have advanced degrees as well, other than just medical degrees, MBAs, stuff like that. I'm also board certified in EMS for handling EMS agencies. Being a Shannon ER doc, we take everything that comes through the doors, whether it's pediatrics, OBGYN, trauma, which is kind of my favorite thing.
Gunshots.
Yeah. I love, hair, teeth, and eyeballs. I love that stuff. But, what we're stuck with now is we've seen so many of these COVID patients that are coming in.
Well, just leading up to that, what is a typical day before COVID for a Shannon ER doc? I mean, what was your normal patient load? What did you expect, how long did you have to work? And
normally we work 10-hour shifts. We kind of rotate, and we have 5 shifts throughout the day at the downtown campus and 3 shifts throughout the day now at the south campus. What we're doing there has actually gone up because their numbers have gone up tremendously in the last,
and that's gone months. Up in other things other than COVID.
For other things other than COVID as well.
Right.
Yes.
All right. So one of the, when the COVID thing was happening, we became acquainted. I don't know, a year ago. And we talked about, heck, I remember we were having a long conversation. You're saying, well, we started seeing these infections, these lung infections that had strange X-rays,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And y'all didn't know what it was, or you're thinking it was vaping.
Yeah, well,
right?
Actually the X-ray picture from vaping or CAT scan picture looks very similar to that of COVID. And, at the time we were getting a lot of false negative COVID tests because of the actual supplies that we were using. And so we're trying to figure out why these people had these horrible looking pneumonias. And all.
What is it? What is it horrible looking pneumonia that you're seeing with COVID on X-ray? Can you give a layman, like someone who doesn't know, what does it look like? Or how do you determine what it is? And does it look more sinister or evil?
it does really from the doc's standpoint. Yeah, normally on chest X-ray, you've got kind of a white heart in the middle and then 2 black lungs. But in the COVID patients, we're seeing big blotches of white scattered throughout where they have these multifocal pneumonias. So instead of just being one lobe of pneumonia, they've got pneumonia pretty much spread throughout their entire lungs.
And that's what's causing them not to be able to breathe and their oxygen levels to go down?
Yes, sir. Definitely so.
Okay. Well, when you're evaluating now, so let's fast forward. Now that COVID has happened, and let's just talk about over the last year. When do you? I mean, you don't really. You have a very strong matrix of why you would admit someone to the hospital for COVID.
Yeah. In fact, the vast majority of people that come in the emergency department or that are diagnosed with COVID anywhere do not end up being admitted to the hospital. The vast majority of people who have COVID end up with the equivalent of a simple cold, cough. Maybe a little bit worse than a regular cold, but they're sick for a few days and do fine. In order for us to admit them to the hospital, they need to meet certain criteria. They need to have an oxygen saturation at rest of below 90.
Okay.
What we'll do is...
And 90 is still pretty high, isn't it? Or is it low? I don't know. Pretty low?
You'd be short of breath at 90.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, I test it with my little finger indicator,
yeah.
And it says I'm at 97. Is that good?
Yeah.
Or does that mean I'm about to die?
Oh, I hope not.
No.
I'd have to do CPR.
So just 7% on an oxygen meter
makes a big difference. Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. And so if somebody's got a low oxygen saturation, or if they're borderline, we'll actually walk them around their room in the emergency department and see.
Work them out.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's called a 6-minute walk test. So we'll walk them for 6 minutes, see if their oxygen saturation drops. If it drops, then we'll end up having to admit them. Some people we're admitting just for fatigue because they're just worn out. These people that live at home and they can't take care of themselves because they just can't do it. They don't have the energy to do it.
So I'm going to admit some things online on this thing. I had COVID back in January, and I mean it was like the first day. When I started suspecting it, I couldn't taste my milkshake I bought at the Sonic.
Oh no!
And I kept having another little spoonful of it. I didn't taste that and take another. And when I first started, I said I'm going to eat only about half of this, because I'm getting old and I have to lose weight and stuff. But I ate the whole thing, and I couldn't taste it. And so I said, man, and I went and drove through the Shannon drive-through thing on Southwest or Sunset, or is it Sunset or Southwest?
Sunset, yeah.
Sunset, yeah. Just reopened it. Yeah, they just reopened it. Yeah, exactly. And I drove through there, and they stuck that dang stick up my nose. And I said, this is the most uncomfortable thing ever, but at least it's over with. And then I had to download an app, and 3 hours later they said, you have COVID. Right.
Yeah.
So I told everyone, all my friends, and immediately they went to, you're going to die. Right. And then I had one person who's actually an advertising client. She called me up and she said, Joe, you've got to get one of those finger things to measure your oxygen. So I did. I ordered it on Amazon, so I didn't have to go into CVS and get everything infected. And it comes in, and it's always 97%. So everyone said, well, usually what happens the next week, they go down, and you die the next week. So when people like get the COVID initially, the first day or two, they're not really sick. Or don't seem like that. So explain how do you go from not being sick and you think you're on the road to recovery, and next thing you know, you hear that they died.
Yeah, well, I guess with all illnesses, as infectious disease, some people recover, some people don't. But there's a natural course that most people with the COVID and coronaviruses get a cold, they're sick for a few days and recover. But for unknown reasons, some people tend to take that turn for worse. They end up getting the pneumonias. We're seeing a whole lot of people now, I presume Delta variant, that are having GI symptoms like a COVID gastroenteritis. They get nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. They come in with profuse watery diarrhea multiple times a day. They're dehydrated. They can't stand. So these people may have no lung problems at all. It's all GI symptoms. And
so if you have just the GI symptoms, is that kind of leading toward death? I mean, how do you can't put a ventilator on that, right?
No, hopefully not, no. Most of those people were able to keep hydrated with IV fluids and stuff. The ones that are getting admitted, again, the vast majority of them are folks that are hypoxic at rest.
What are the higher what people are dying is really the question I'm trying to ask, but I don't know how to say it softly. But yeah, like what type of people are dying?
Well, looks like the vast majority of people that have died so far have been elderly, to be above 60, 65.
So people my age.
Yeah, the old folks. Yeah, yeah. So those are the people that seem to be dying the most. But
I heard at first overweight and stuff, weight and stuff like that had a thing. But it's just you never then you see just so many different characteristics in people. So.
Yeah, and people will say that they'll say that the reason he died is because he's overweight or because he has diabetes or because he's got this or that.
Right.
And if you look at these people have had hypertension, diabetes, they've been morbidly obese for years, and they were doing fine. And then all of a sudden they get COVID and they're dead.
So do you don't think
that killed them with the COVID, it wasn't their morbid obesity.
So really that obesity may not have much to do with...
It predisposes you, it's a risk factor for dying if you get COVID.
Right.
But if you don't get the COVID, then you don't have that risk factor.
Right.
Matt, what I think Dr. Vretis is saying is, before if we didn't have COVID, which we had many years without COVID,
right.
People who are overweight lived normal, happy lives. Mm-hmm. And so now they get the COVID because that is a predeterminer, I guess, or predisposition to being more ill that kills them.
Gotcha.
And he's saying it's not bad. It's not. Don't blame them for being overweight. Because that's kind of what people are doing. That's when you're young, like Matt Trammell, right? Yeah. And you think, well, those fat people.
No, that's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just asking. The main original question was just who is dying.
Yeah, elderly and with risk factors.
Gotcha.
The ones that are
Gotcha.
Well, what is it like? I mean, does Shannon they have like a ward up there, and it's like you mentioned like the old 1940s movie where all these beds stacked up in a big room, or what is? And you hear we have a COVID ward.
We do have COVID ward.
For a
while we had several COVID wards.
So describe what it's like to I guess treat and tend to patients who have COVID.
Okay, well, in the emergency department, anybody who's suspected of having COVID, we put on either an N95 mask, regular mask, have to have eye shields on, have to have a plastic gown on, have to have double gloves on, trying to protect us and make it so we don't take this back to anywhere else within the hospital. Some of the docs will wear a mask, so they're wearing a full face mask with kind of like a 3M mask for you.
Looks like you're in chemical warfare gear.
Yeah. Well, actually, for a while I wore my gas mask, like my SWAT gas mask, when I was
So do you
taking
think
care of
those
patients.
those filters on the gas mask?
Yeah,
were
they
harmful?
do. Yes,
Really?
Yeah, they're HEPA filters.
You learn
and the
something new.
nice thing is that it's, my gas mask at least has a little speaker on, a little electronic speaker, because
Oh,
you
yeah.
have trouble hearing people talking through.
So
a
you were
gas
like
mask.
Darth Vader.
Yeah. Darth Vretis is what we were
Darth
calling it.
Vretis.
There you go.
So what is it like for the patients? Are they sitting there watching TV? I mean, what do they do?
Some of them, who are just on a regular COVID floor are indeed watching TV, feeling horrible, but they're watching TV because you got to do something for those 12 hours a day that you're awake.
Right.
But they can't breathe real well, so they never really get truly rested. And then as their disease progresses, they may get put on BiPAP, which is this really tight mask that goes against their whole face, and it pressurizes the oxygen or the atmosphere that they're breathing in, and that air, extra pressure, helps push fluid out of the lungs, and that's kind of how that works. And the ones that fail BiPAP a lot of times end up in the intensive care unit on ventilators. And those are the people that
you hear this in the national media that once you go on the ventilator, there's probably not a very good chance you're going to get off the ventilator. You're going to pass on. Is that?
Yeah, getting on a ventilator is not a good thing
right
to have. And it's not that the ventilator is bad. It's just that you were so bad that you ended up on the ventilator because you failed everything else up to that time. So some folks will say, well, you don't want to get put on a ventilator. But
now,
you don't want to be sick enough to need a ventilator.
But this COVID is an infection.
Yes.
So the virus causes the infection.
Yes, sir.
What kind of treatments are you hear? I mean, everyone says all these treatments, but in Shannon, you guys deal with it and you're accountable for it, and you have to fix it, right?
Yeah.
So what is really working right now? Because you hear hydrochloroquine still. You still hear those stories, or ivermectin or something like that, some kind of horse medicine.
Yeah. I mean, I get people ask me about ivermectin fairly often. If you want to go to Tractor Supply and get a tube of ivermectin and take a lick, that's up to you. You're in charge of your own body, but don't expect me to base my medicine off what you saw on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. It's kind of like if you read that having a lung transplant or a heart transplant would be good for you, I'm not going to go out and get you a new heart just because you think you might need one. We're going to look at what medicine actually says, and there's no literature that strongly supports using hydrochloroquine or ivermectin.
So what medicines what medicines are you guys using?
Primarily, they get steroids, lots of Decadron or something like that.
Something that you would give to a flu patient?
What?
Something that you would give to a flu patient?
Well, they give to people who have airway disease, whether it's infectious or not. It helps cut down on the inflammation in the actual airways. There.
What about at the end of the Trump presidency when Trump had some kind of fruit cocktail or something?
Yeah, the cocktails.
The cocktail. We all hear about the cocktail.
Okay. Well, we've got actually a monoclonal antibody that we give people when they come in.
When you say monoclonal?
Yes, it's
that
from
means
a
it'll only be cloned once.
All of the antibody is produced by cells from a single colony, from a single source. So
Gotcha.
this is how a lot of medical stuff is actually produced. But so from a single source antibodies,
right.
And we give it to people that have COVID that do not meet admission criteria. And it's been shown if you give this monoclonal antibody, Bam Bam, what we call it.
Right. It's called Bam Bam?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because that way you don't have to say
Bam Bam. Yeah, hit him with some Bam Bam. Get him out of here.
Because you get these names that are this long, you try and get it.
No kidding. I had to write down ivermectin because I couldn't. I never can remember, or hydrochloroquine. I still have trouble with that.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you pronounce all this? And you had Vretis or something. I don't know. You had all these strange names of stuff. But right now,
I like Bam Bam.
Steroids and Bam Bam.
Yeah.
Steroids, Bam Bam. Actually, they've been shown that if you have high levels of vitamin D3, zinc, vitamin C, these things seem to be supportive for you.
Okay, so before you get sick, right? You want everyone taking 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and 500 of D3 and zinc.
Yeah, you take
500 milligrams of zinc.
Take your zinc. 2,000, 5,000 units of D3 a day. If you take more than
2 to 5,000.
Yeah. If you take
so if I go to Walgreens, what does a 2 to 5,000 pill look like? Is it
it's a little gummy. They do like I do. I get the little gummy.
Oh yeah.
Regular vitamins and the gummy vitamin C and the gummy thing. Hey, my wife makes fun of me because it looks like I'm having dessert every night when I go. but to me, I'm taking medicine, so it doesn't count as dessert.
Well, cool.
Yeah, Dr. Vretis, so So the I'm sorry, whenever we were talking, or you were talking about the cocktail that that President Trump had received, and that's been something that a number of people have received. Certainly, since November, December, and what have you.
Yeah.
My folks, they caught COVID back in December, and they were able to get treated with that, and it helped them tremendously because it brought them back, because they were just, their energy levels, everything was just bad.
Yeah.
But that was used for like a lot of folks that were in 50 something and above, or 60s and above.
Old people.
Yes, I'm not going to say old people, but
good.
So, but I'm hearing now that there are people actually younger than that, a lot younger, 20s, 30s, and younger perhaps, are being treated with that. Are they kind of removing that age restriction on that type of thing now?
Yeah, and we've done that somewhat with the monoclonal antibodies too, that we're trying to expand our treatment to a greater age group. And again, because what we're seeing now is a younger age group are coming in with the disease. So what we suspect, this Delta variant seems to be hitting younger people.
How does it focus on this? I don't know. How does it focus on an age group? I just don't understand that. Like I don't understand how this variant.
It's the nature of the beast. I don't know.
Focuses on a young.
I bet it's how
kid.
How it spreads.
Yeah.
It's
the presumed Delta's got different spike proteins. It tends to be stickier, so it tends to be more infectious, and it could be something about kid lungs or younger people lungs.
Well, younger people aren't as vaccinated as well, right?
Well, you can't be vaccinated under 12 right now. I think they're trying to get 5 and above for Pfizer and Moderna now.
Yeah. All right, so Dr. Vretis, I'm gonna take you back a little bit more in time. When the rodeo decided to go full up,
yes, sir,
right back in April.
Yeah.
Obviously, you were a big part of that decision. I would think you'd have to sign off on it. Right?
I did. Yes.
You did. Were you worried?
Yeah.
So basically, in April, rodeo was April 9th?
Yeah.
Opened it full up, all 4,950 seats full for 12 performances. Plus you had the carnival and everything else. There was no masking, anything like that. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, what's going to happen in 2 weeks? Were you thinking that?
Well, I was thinking that when we gave approval to do the rodeo, and we were talking back in February is when we were approving it for then. So we were still on the downhill side of that peak, and so we're scared that are we going to pop back up? And luckily we didn't. Luckily,
2 weeks into the rodeo, I don't know, April 20th or whatever. I remember the COVID report. The city sent, the health department sends out the COVID report. 9 new cases. That was it. 9 new cases. And, we're coming from a time frame where we remember 300 new cases a day.
Yeah, I think if my numbers are right, there was like I think it was either 40 to 70 total cases in the month of June. And then in July, there was, there's 650 right now. So
right,
yeah.
So you weren't worried?
Crazy.
I was worried, yeah.
You were worried,
but it was,
so
an educated risk. I mean, we knew that there was a possibility that things would go bad, but we were on the road to recovery, and I think that
and
it worked out well.
Were working.
Yeah, and everybody back then, were rushing to get vaccines, and they're a waiting line to get vaccinated, and now we're kind of the opposite.
That's because the first time you said only certain people can get vaccinated, and then so those people just crowded it out. Yeah. I remember I signed up a couple times to get vaccinated, and they never called on me.
Because you weren't old enough, yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's so unfair. Age discrimination.
Hey, now you can get $100, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
President Biden is saying if you sign up for a COVID vaccine, you get $100.
You get $100, really?
Yeah,
He's encouraging people.
I might go get a vaccine.
Go get you $100. Go get you a poke.
Hey, you think that's per poke?
I don't know.
Or you think that's just a flat rate 100? Yeah.
$100 to get. Well, what about the city of Abilene? They were going to give their city employees 40 hours off, a week off.
They had a city council meeting yesterday, and they were talking about it, and they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do because they said, no, we can't give y'all 40 hours.
But 40 hours off just for taking the vaccine?
Yeah. Well, then they all went and got it, and they don't get their 40 hours now.
Oh, did they go get it?
Yeah, a bunch of people went and got it, and then they were like, "Oh wait, there's an influx of 40 hours
I'd be
that
mad.
we can't give
I'd
away."
be mad. If I
take this right out of me.
I'd be applying for a job in Big Spring or something. But,
come to San Angelo.
All right, so let's talk the vaccine.
Yes, sir.
Obviously the COVID thing has been politicized.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Has that hurt you at all as far as trying to convince people that you're telling the truth?
It has, and because it's like I was telling you earlier. Anytime you mix politics with medicine, you get politics.
Right.
There's
You
no
know.
way. There's no way that's
That's
Politics
it. I mean,
just kind of takes over everything.
It does, and it's really sad because if we were all, vaccinated to the point that we had herd immunity, we wouldn't be looking at a big spike in deltas. And kind of like we were talking about earlier, we're in a continuous race with this virus because it's continuing trying to mutate. And we need to get to the point that we've got herd immunity before it gets to the point that it has a real killer version out there that can really wipe out a lot of people.
We've been following you and reporting on what you say for over a year now. So everything you've said so far to me has come true, except for one thing. You said we would not reach from the vaccines. You said the vaccines won't be here till January, and we won't have herd immunity till June. But it turned out we got them in December. We had herd immunity by April.
Well, we didn't have herd immunity. We had the lower numbers by April.
Okay, gotcha.
The vaccine, whether you're a Trump fan or not Trump fan, the Project Warp Speed of his to get the vaccine out was truly amazing. It really was. It's one of the greatest, advances in medicine of being able to produce these vaccines this quickly for this many people. If we were looking at the regular vaccine process, we'd still be 3 to 4 years out from a vaccine.
We'd all be cowering in our corners wearing our masks.
We'd be having a lot.
Eventually, the government would run out of money. They'd have to issue our gray pajamas.
Yeah.
Read the little red book.
Or something like that. Yeah. But there would be a lot of good.
Speaking about herd immunity, we hear so much about that. Certainly, I think it's in the European countries over there, possibly reaching that, how they do things over there. For us here stateside, how can we get to that point? And is that even a thing for us to reach regarding the mutations of how this thing is working, right now?
Yeah, I think, here in the States, we can get to the herd immunity point, if more people would get vaccinated. We need to be somewhere in that 65 to 75% vaccinated in order to have it. So
where are we right now?
I think in Angelo, we're at 40, statewide, maybe 48.
So to get to 65%, I guess we need to have another 25,000 shots.
Yeah, that's basically what we need. And that way, there won't be a big enough pool of people that could spread the disease, catch the disease, have it mutate, to go out. So, herd immunity is going to be our way out of this crisis. It's not necessarily mask.
But you mentioned we have Delta variant. You mentioned there's another. Explain to the variants that you've been seeing on the horizon that could be coming. Because you said one of them is going to end up killing us, right?
Yeah.
Being very deadly.
Yeah, we don't know which one it'll be, but there will be
So what's coming after Delta?
Lambda, which I guess is coming out of Peru.
So it's really good that we have an open border now?
It is, yes. That'll help it come up faster.
Yeah, okay. So
Dr. Vretis, you just touched on that. So you said masks aren't necessarily the answer.
I don't think I don't think they're the only answer. The vaccine is the ultimate answer, is get herd immunity, so you don't have to have a mask. A mask does great as far as stopping the spread of infection. And, I know there's a lot of anti-maskers out there, but look at this last flu year. We didn't have influenza to speak of at all.
But wait, isn't that because all the flu infections were counted as COVID infections?
No, it's not, actually. We talked about that. But what happened,
But I mean, you're on the trenches, right?
Yeah.
And you hear on Facebook, and I'm a Facebook doctor. I got my Facebook MD.
I understand,
Yeah, y'all watch out, man. I'm smart.
We're speaking to a real MD right here.
I'm a Facebook MD, okay? And on my Facebook MD, in my course study,
it said,
no, when reading the posts and stuff like that, they say that, well, the hospitals have a bias toward recording any illness as COVID-19 because they get extra money from Medicare.
No.
So you're in the trenches. Tell me how it works.
If we think somebody has COVID, we check them for COVID, but also on all adults that are coming in with COVID-like symptoms, we're checking them for influenza. So, some people were actually documented to have COVID-19 and influenza A or influenza B.
But do you have people that come in and they just have influenza?
Yeah, and that's what they're diagnosed of, as influenza. Well, RSV,
how
same
important
thing.
is it for Shannon to properly categorize these things? I mean, if you miscategorize someone as having COVID, I guess you could throw them in the COVID ward and they'd really have COVID, right?
I guess that would happen, but they don't get in the COVID ward without having a positive test. We've had several people that we're pretty sure they have COVID, but their test is negative, and we test them again and it's still negative, so they don't make it to the COVID floor.
Really?
Yeah, they
Even
still get
even though their X-rays are looking
everything looks like they have COVID, but we don't put them on the COVID floor until we actually know they have COVID for sure.
So you have to have positive.
They have to have a true positive to get on there. Getting a positive flu test does not get you on the COVID floor.
Truthfully reporting the test results or not just assuming things to get a higher COVID count to get more money from the federal government is something that is very risky for hospitals to do.
Yeah, right? I have never in all my life heard of a doctor diagnosing one thing just to get a different reimbursement level. And this, in the ER, we don't do that. I mean, we're Shannon employees, but we have our own individual liability, and it's just morally, ethically wrong to do that. We do not do that. I've never heard of it being done.
I think it's important for people to understand in Facebook land because of my Facebook doctorate.
I understand.
And of course,
Right.
that in the trenches, these things that you hear as rumors or as conspiracy theories are probably not happening. And then you're there.
I have never seen it. I've never heard of it actually happening. Never, not even once.
So the COVID counts that we're getting are the true COVID counts.
They're true COVID counts.
What about when someone passes away? If someone passes away in the hospital, you just tag them with COVID, say no big deal.
If they died from COVID, we do. But if they died from a ruptured aortic aneurysm, that goes down as an aortic aneurysm. Right. And then somewhere on the list, COVID comes in there if they actually had COVID too. But
that's not going to be broadcasted by the health department saying we had a COVID death.
No.
So I guess what Joe's trying to get at here. So for the QAnon folks out there,
we don't make the numbers. I mean, it's
the people who believe in that type of thing. So COVID deaths are COVID deaths. A death is a death.
Yes.
Say I get shot, and they take me to Shannon, and I'm already positive with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
And I got shot, right? So I died from being shot, but I was also positive for coronavirus. I think this is really what they're trying to get at. Would I go down as I was shot with coronavirus and I died,
and killed,
or was I another coronavirus death who was shot?
You're a shot.
You're a shot.
Shot.
I think that was kind of the question.
Coronavirus will probably make the list because
yeah.
The way electronic records are nowadays, everything that you check is positive at all, it'll end up on the list, but it'll go down. Cause of death will be exsanguinating hemorrhage from gunshot to the chest or whatever.
There you go.
So some of these situations. So we're still talking about the vaccine. You're trying to sell people to go out there and put stuff in their arm, right?
Yeah.
Was that hard for you to put it in your arm? I know you got the shot.
Yeah.
So what did you go through?
What?
When you were thinking about getting the shot?
When I got it was, I guess, the second day the shot was available. And, there's a lot more, I guess, I was hesitant because the vaccine hadn't been tried on very many people, like 15,000 people, which is not very many people at all when you figure regular vaccines are tried on hundreds of thousands to millions of people.
So you took the shot?
I took the shot.
What did it feel like when right after you get they pull the needle out, you go, oh my God?
Oh, to be honest with you, I think the nursing student that gave it to me was her very first shot ever.
Oh,
no way! And she nailed it, bounced it off the bone.
Yes.
But aside from that, I got a shot. It was nothing. And then the second one,
the spoons didn't start magnetizing to your hands or anything.
No. I mean, I hear that all the time that you're gonna put metals in you and make you magnetic. I don't set off any alarms when I go anywhere. And people say no.
You been on a plane?
Have you been on a plane yet?
Yeah. I actually, as far as can we track you from the vaccine?
Yeah.
No, I track you from your cell phone and
there
from
you
your
go,
watch.
Yeah.
I don't need a vaccine to track you.
There you go.
All right, so there's still vaccine hesitancy out there,
yes.
and I think a lot of it probably means there's not a real imminent death for most people with COVID right now. Although there's some horrible stories in the hospitals, but for a healthy 26-year-old, there's not an imminent death awaiting them if they catch COVID.
We've got the odds are no. I mean, but we do have some people in the low 30s. That look really bad, and I'm not sure they're going to survive.
So when you say low 30s, are they in health? Are they in good shape?
Yeah.
Good shape guys?
Yeah, good shape guys.
So why do some people get really bad and some people don't?
Bad luck.
You think it's bad luck?
I mean, I think so. Really, that's kind of what it boils down to.
Is it just their body, their blood type?
Their body, their immune system, again, their weight,
much
do they have
partying?
diabetes, whatever, how well their body, attacks the disease and what their reactions to it are.
But the hesitancy for the vaccine is because there's not widespread, people, their best friend is not going to the hospital and dying when you're 39 or 30 or 29.
Maybe not. But maybe just with Delta, we might be seeing that more
again so?
Because of the change in the demographics of who's getting affected by it. A lot of people, we lost a lot of elderly folks in that first really big peak that we had. And
the elderly people were more open to getting the vaccine.
Well, yeah, because they're the ones the most likely to get it.
Right,
and so they're vaccinated. Probably the highest of any age group that we have. But, the people really need to think that, you still spread the disease. Mm-hmm. So whether you get real sick or not, if you've got COVID and you're next to somebody who has a bad immune system and you spread it to them, you were a vector in their death.
You're going to blame them for that?
Yeah, I'll blame you for that.
You're going to call the sheriff up and give me...
I won't give you that chance.
Aggravated assault?
Yeah, but no, I mean, it's we're obligated to not drive drunk on highways. We're obligated to not put people at risk for us making bad decisions. I mean, it's your decision whether you want to get the vaccine or not.
All right. So the next question is: you hear, and this is really a medical question that my Facebook MD does not cover.
Okay.
But you do hear that when you get the shot, it somehow increases or it makes protein spikes that are somehow unhealthy to your heart. Can you explain what happens with the vaccine for some people?
Yeah, okay. Well, actually, the vaccines do make these spike proteins, and that's what your body builds the antibodies to, and that's what defends you against getting COVID. Well, there's some cross-reactivity to the body's reaction to these COVID spikes and spike proteins and to some people's heart muscle. Okay. So that does exist, and some people are getting this myocarditis after having been vaccinated. But the thing is, if you get COVID, you're probably more likely that same protein spike that triggered it, you'll make those same reaction and you would probably have that same myocarditis.
But not everyone is going to have that same reaction to the
That's right.
What are the odds of that? Do we know what the odds of that are?
He's the doctor.
One in 1,000.
The odds of the vaccine giving you these heart problems?
Yeah, very, very rare. 1 in 1,000, 1 to 10,000, depending on which one of these individual side effects that we're talking about.
So what you're saying is, if you take the vaccine, let's say you're susceptible to that.
Yeah.
If you take the vaccine, you're going to get it. But if you don't take the vaccine and end up getting the COVID, you're going to get it even worse.
You'll probably get it worse. Yes,
so your heart is going to be damaged no matter what.
If you get COVID, you would probably get the same reaction that you got if you got the vaccine. Yeah. Okay. So those people are kind of genetically predisposed to it.
And we had a question about genders. Since there's age groups that are being affected more, are we seeing any affected with different genders?
There's slight changes. But all in all, it's pretty close to down the middle. Yeah.
Same tissue, same body.
Yeah. And I guess it was last year, for the first time in 20, 30 years, there's actually a decrease in average lifespan. The average lifespan in the United States went down 1.5 years. The average lifespan of a Hispanic person went down 3.5 years, and the average lifespan of a black person went down 3.4 years.
So then leading on to gender, what about ethnicity? Is there?
That's it.
You see more of different people besides white people that are getting it easier? I guess.
Yeah. And again, we're seeing greater illnesses in some of the Hispanic population, some of the black population. Right. And these are people that we really need to stress that we get the word out about vaccination.
So in the Hispanic population, you say you have a greater percentage are getting the COVID.
I think the ones that get it are getting it worse.
Gotcha. I got you. And that's because of diabetes and comorbidities, or... It's just the way it is.
We're not sure it's the way it is. Yeah. It's the nature of the beast. I don't know.
Dr. Vretis, speaking about vaccines, we're seeing a number of celebrities. There's few celebrities out there, especially athletes. Cole Beasley, former Dallas Cowboy wide receiver, now with the Buffalo Bills. He does not want to get the vaccine at all. In fact, the NFL is pushing their players to get this, or you don't play at all. and one of their main things is about this is that this vaccine is not approved by the FDA. It's yet to be approved by that.
Yeah, and
do you think if the FDA does, if it does have that type of clearance, we could see a lot more people getting this vaccine?
yeah, I suspect we probably will, but I suspect it'll probably be another 5 months or so before we actually see that. And if you think about the process of a normal vaccine approval, they have that vaccine out for years and years before they give final approval for it. We've had the vaccine out since last December. Wow. So, we've streamlined, as I said, warp speed was great as far as getting the vaccine out there, but be able to give final approval and say, yes, we've had these people that we've watched them for 5 years or 2 years or whatever. We can't watch them for 2 years until it's been 2 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So at that point, I mean, because that's a lot of people's beef, with this vaccine. It's not regulated by the FDA. Doesn't have that stamp of approval.
Well, yeah, it's got the FDA emergency use authorization. So, the FDA has said, yes, it's okay to use it now. We're not giving final approval until we've watched it for a long period of time. But FDA is not putting any limitations on you using it.
Okay.
Well, what about me? I had the COVID on January 30th. So what are my chances of getting the Delta variant if I don't have a vaccine? If I'm not vaccinated, I had the COVID on January 30th. What are my chances? Are you going to move away from me now?
I wish you'd told me that before. Actually,
That's
did.
probably one of the first things Joe Hyde says when he walks into a room.
Yeah,
I always tell people I have the organic vaccine.
yeah. There's, I hate to remember the numbers right off the bat, something like 800 people in Texas who have had the wild version, first version of COVID, have tested positive a second time for COVID.
So that's out of, I don't know, how many people in Texas tested positive for COVID? 100, 200,000?
In San Angelo is 17,000. So.
Yeah. But
17,000? There's more than that, isn't it? No. Only 17,000 have had the COVID in San Angelo? So I'm part of a pretty elite group.
Yeah.
I'm in the top 17%.
But so, if you've had COVID, you can still get the Delta variant.
Okay.
If you've been vaccinated, you may still get the COVID variant.
So which one is better? Let's eliminate the people who have the vaccine and they've had the COVID. Let's just say you have someone who has the COVID, who has had the COVID and recovered, and someone who has had a vaccine. Which one is
the vaccine appears more protective than having had the wild disease.
Okay. Now let's fast forward. It's been 6 months or whatever. So let's fast forward to December.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's put the guy who had the vaccine back on January 30th and the booster on February 14th, and the guy who just had the COVID on January 30th. By December, who's going to be the most protected?
I suspect still the person that got the vaccines.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's wipe that blackboard off. I can imagine my blackboard I'm putting down here. You have a person who's had the COVID and recovered. You had a person who just had the vaccine, the 2 doses if they need it. Mm-hmm. And then the third person is got a person who had the COVID and got the 2 vaccines.
I suspect that last person would be the one
that's
got the best immune response.
How much better of immune response does the double, or I'm going to call it the double guy, the vaccinated plus the recovered guy?
We don't know because we haven't been into this illness long enough to know. But think about it. We're talking already about the need for a booster to keep your immune response up. Somebody who had either vaccine first and then got COVID, or had COVID first and then got vaccinated, that's the equivalent of having to have a booster.
But you have vaccine first and you get the COVID. Like if you're a Democrat fleeing to Washington, D.C., they all claim they're vaccinated, but 6 of them come down with the COVID. And so I'm looking at that going, either they're lying and they weren't vaccinated, or the vaccine is BS. I look at that story. That's the story you have to talk about.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the numbers out of Israel, they say that the Pfizer vaccine is about 60 to 65% effective against stopping infection with Delta.
Delta is different, that much different that it knocks. Remember when they first came out, these things are 99%.
95% effective, yeah. But even at 95% effective, if we've given out 30,000 doses in Tom Green County, we should still have 1,500 people who get COVID after having been vaccinated, just off those numbers, which is way more known than we had across the entire state.
Right.
So, apparently it's working fairly well.
Okay.
Dr. Vretis, so for the folks that are kind of on the fence about a vaccine, whether they say that the crazy folks who say that there's a chip, or maybe they're just not ready to really, get this because there's not a whole lot of proven facts about it. What's your message to them? Obviously, herd immunity is what we need to reach, but for these folks who kind of really need to hear it from someone like you, someone that sees this on a day-to-day basis.
I really think people should be vaccinated. I mean, again, it's your choice, but it's got a great potential of saving you a severe illness. And, we're talking COVID deaths. We're not even to the point that we're talking long COVID. These people that have permanent neurologic changes because of COVID, these people whose lungs are messed up for the rest of their lives because of COVID. I know some people that got COVID 6 months ago, and they haven't recovered their sense of taste. I mean, can you imagine not being able to taste anything for the rest of your life?
I've heard of that with other folks.
So,
as well.
There's a lot more to COVID than just lived or died. The survivors, I think we're going to see this is going to be a tremendous burden on our health system and on our country because of these people that actually survived the COVID. And you could, lower the odds of having something serious by getting the vaccine. And, there's several vaccines to choose from.
So how do you get the vaccine? Do you drive up to Shannon Hospital and walk in and say, "Hi, I'd like to have a vaccine"?
Well, that's one way, or else you could go to Shannon's MyChart app and put down that you want to be vaccinated.
Okay, so the MyChart app, you have to go to the App Store or Google Play, download the MyChart app, and then of course register for an account, which is all you need is an email address, I guess. Yeah. And then what do you do?
And I think there's a button that says schedule an appointment. You put in that you want the vaccine, or you can go to any of the urgent cares. We're not giving the vaccine out of the emergency department right now, and primarily that's because we're so backed up now that we don't want 50 extra people coming to the ER saying, "I want to be vaccinated," because we just don't have the resources to do that and actually take care of the sick people that we have. So that's why, I'm really happy that Shannon opened their drive-in clinic again, because we were having a large number of people come in, I want to be tested. Right. And we want them tested too, but, they eat the heck out of our resources.
All right, so of the people that are doing these coronavirus vaccines, are they all interns? And they're like, jab you really hard?
No, no.
Is it going to hurt?
It's a shot. I mean, there's if you ever get your choice between getting a shot and getting a chocolate ice cream cone, go for the ice cream cone every time.
That's right.
But the ice cream cone won't protect you from COVID.
Gotcha. So you got to go through the pain.
You do.
No pain, no gain.
I'll go with that. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of COVID today, we do have an update. In fact, just released by the city here. We have total of 111 positive cases today.
In one day?
In one day, yeah.
So what are we up to, about 800 on?
So total active cases is 614. There's 34 currently hospitalized. And Trammell said it. There's total positive cases. It's 17,894.
It's like I write that report almost daily.
You do?
So Trammell sees that on the daily.
So every day that you guys get more and more infected reduces the I guess legitimacy of my top 17,000 people of San Angelo, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Reduces the prestige. The prestige goes away.
Well, so there's 30 people in the hospital right now. What's you think's the survival rate on those? You think most people who are in the hospital right now are going to make it, or?
Yeah. I mean, the vast majority of people who get hospitalized do make it. The ones that make it into intensive care, they don't have the great survival rate compared to the people just on the COVID unit, because again, you have to earn intensive care.
Yeah.
These people are really sick. I mean, when you go up to the ICU, like we have to intubate these people a lot of times up in intensive care, and they're just struggling horribly to breathe. And can you imagine watching your best friend or somebody you love drown over a 3 to 6 week period? And that's what these families of these people are having to do. I mean, this is a horrible disease when they get the bad pulmonary forms.
So I have some more numbers here. This is from the city of San Angelo. These are the positive cases from July 1st to July 30th. Out of the, let me see. I'm trying to figure it out. There were, out of the total amount of cases, there were 623 of the cases were unvaccinated, and only 126 of the cases were were fully vaccinated. So the overwhelming majority of the cases in July were unvaccinated. 623 of them.
Wow.
So and when it comes to deaths, it says 3 were unvaccinated and 1 was vaccinated. So 3 to 1 odds if you're vaccinated, you won't die.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, one more question, and this is a big thing we get asked all the time. So, and you're going to be a part of the decision-making matrix of this if the governor allows it, but masking children in schools, is that a smart thing, bad thing?
I guess it really depends on the age of the children. I think the younger the children are, probably the less difference it makes, because they just don't seem to spread it amongst themselves. They're much more likely to get it from a teacher, spread it to a teacher, than they are spread it amongst themselves. The older kids, once they get in teenage years, masks, they've been shown to be effective. I mean, as I said, we didn't have a flu season this year. Even you think about RSV, which is primarily kids 5 and under, we didn't have an RSV season this year. The mask stopped us from having that, so it stops other disease other than COVID.
So you're not, I guess, the way as the health authority, you're not predisposed to be against masking children in the public schools.
I'm not against it now. Even though the governor said we can't mandate masks, we can't mandate you not wearing a mask either. So, you can tell your children, wear a mask. You can wear a mask yourself. The governor in his executive order, if you read it, it says that the people of the state of Texas have been told what to do. They know what to do, and now it's your responsibility to do that. We're saying that we as the state,
So you're saying that a responsible parent would send their child to public school with a mask?
Yes, and a responsible parent would want their kid to wear a mask if they're in an area with a lot of unvaccinated people and the child hasn't been vaccinated. A responsible adult would say, I'm going to be in this big building that's got lots of people in it. I don't know what their vaccine status is. Maybe I ought to wear my mask and stop this from spreading. But again, the governor's order doesn't say don't do it. It says the people of the state of Texas know what they're supposed to do, and he's putting it on everybody's this is on your shoulders. You need to do your part to spread the disease. Don't look at the state. Don't look at the local health authority to do it.
So we had one of our coworkers. She's she just had a kid not recently, and the kids just started daycare, and so she was kind of wanting what a big question was what do you recommend with kids who are in daycare? You can't put a mask on those kids, and you can't vaccinate them right now. So what do you kind of suggest for like moms and parents like that age, for like children that age?
There's not a lot that they could do, to be honest with you. Luckily, kids that age, when they get the disease, don't seem to get real serious with it. But I mean, there is nothing that's approved, as you say.
Yeah.
I've got grandkids small, and trying to get them to wear masks is not easy.
What about vaccinating children?
It's going to come.
Do you think it's safe?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's safe to.
Do you think it's safe 12 and under right now, even though it's not FDA regulated?
Well, right now the FDA lets you do 12 and above.
Right, but do you think it's safe enough for 12 and under?
I think we're probably going to go to 5 and above within this next month.
And the vaccine won't change. It'll still be the same vaccine. It's just we're just opening up that threshold of how
That's
old
correct,
you can be.
because we're seeing such a good safety profile for the vaccine in everybody up to this age. There's no reason to suspect that we're going to see a different safety profile.
And when it comes to the vaccine, so there's 3 of them, and I know the Johnson & Johnson one took some heat when it first came out because just some things were going wrong with it. What do you recommend when you do you get to pick a vaccine at Shannon? Do you get to go in there and say, hey, this is what I want? Or is it like, most doctors' visits where this is what you need as what I suggest for you?
Some of it is you get to have a choice if there's a choice to be had. But, some places only have Pfizer, some only have Moderna, some only have the J&J. So, you may have to call around to try and figure out, if I want this specific vaccine, who has that vaccine to give it to me?
Would you recommend one or the other? And the other question is just what happened with the J&J, and did they fix it?
Oh, I think some of the problems I saw originally with J&J were reports of small numbers that people kind of blew out of proportion and said, this is real horrible. We're having all these old people die. And then they looked at the numbers. Those old people died at the same rate they were dying before they got the vaccine.
Right.
So, that's just a hazard of taking care of really frail elderly people is, they're towards the end of their life with or without the vaccine.
So is there one that you would suggest?
I got the Pfizer. I'll get Pfizer when it's got a booster. But if the Moderna booster is out first, I'll get the Moderna booster.
So what is a booster? Is
So
it
it's
just
not
another
like
shot?
engine oil. It's not like engine oil. You can mix and match.
Yeah, because all of these vaccines actually, the RNA ones, code for you to make the spike protein. So
Right.
there may be a little bit difference in it, but it's just a spike protein that your body makes, and then you make antibodies to that.
So is the booster just like, because you get 1 shot, 2 shot, is the 3rd shot just the same thing that's in the 1 and 2 shots?
It'll probably be a little bit different because they're trying to get it so it'll handle, some of the variants, some of the.
So it'll be a little stronger maybe?
Not necessarily stronger, but maybe a little bit different.
They're going to move one carbon over here to over
And
here.
that's really what they're doing. They're changing the mix of protein that it makes.
Kind of like a flu shot, how they just pick
Change
a
it
different
every
flu?
year, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's the
that makes
same thing.
sense.
That's they got to make sure that what you're getting as a booster represents the virus that's going around in the community at that time.
Right on.
All right. So to summarize what you said, it's safe to get vaccinated. If you've had the coronavirus and you've recovered, probably a good idea to get vaccinated.
Yes, sir.
We're probably going to have a booster coming up.
Yes.
We have multiple variants on the way here. Delta's here.
Yes,
You
sir.
think Lima is in Peru?
Lambda.
Lambda, yeah.
Was it Lambda?
Yeah, you
Lambda.
apparently weren't in any
Lambda's
Greek
in
life. Huh?
Lambda.
Lambda.
Well, I was thinking Lima because
GDI.
Because it's
Joe.
in Lima, Peru.
I was thinking Lima. Isn't that like the alpha phonetic? Alpha, Bravo, Charlie.
No, see, these are
Lima?
different. You're like military. You
Yeah,
got to
these
be
are
like in the
Greek
Greek
letters.
life. Yeah,
I know, it's all
Alpha,
Greek
Beta,
to you,
Gamma,
yes.
Delta.
Anyway, Lambda,
Yeah.
and then where they have something in Israel now that's called November.
Yeah. So it's the new viruses. It keeps mutating. We keep getting these new variants. So that they'll keep coming around.
But some have been weaker than others, right?
Yeah. Some
saying-
that we were afraid of at first, we didn't have to worry about them because Delta came along. It was so much worse than they were that it pushed out the Alpha and Bravo
I
ones.
gotcha. So we didn't hear about anything. We did have an Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta.
Yeah.
No, this is
like
this
a
is not
frat boy,
fraternity.
Yeah,
thing.
these are the letters. This isn't military. This is
Where they got
it.
it from.
Yeah, he's a frat boy.
Yeah.
Frat daddy Trammell.
Go Pike.
So Dr.
Go Pike,
Vretis,
go.
so Dr. Vretis, so the whole thing, it just to make sure that we ensure ourselves, ensure our safety, just get the vaccine.
Yeah. Let's get to herd immunity so we don't have to have these mask wars.
And all we need is 25,000 more people in San Angelo to go get vaccinated.
That is correct. Think how easy that would be.
And
Really, how easy would that be?
and Uncle Joe is going to give you $100 to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uncle Joe.
And if we get 25,000, that gets us closer to the herd immunity.
Think about that.
and-
$25,000
We're Gucci.
and we're herd immunity.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not $25,000. Think about that, dude.
It is $25,000.
he's not a math major.
He's not a math major. No.
Wait.
If it
What
was
is-
$1,000,
Oh no, it's not. Oh no, it's not. Oh,
There's a lot of zeros there, Trammell.
Yeah.
We even kind of joke about, it'd be nice to get a bar to sponsor a vaccine thing and, a shot for a shot.
Blaze.
Well, Doc Vretis, you're talking a lot of people's language
I
now.
understand that. The people that we're talking about that would do that are the people that are going around spreading the disease.
There you go.
Yeah, imagine if the Chad Tav had a shot for a shot.
Yeah, shot for shot.
Yeah.
Or maybe a shot for several shots, because I'd need several shots to get over the
Yeah.
pain.
If I have to get 2 pokes, I better get 2 shots.
Oh, I want more than 2 for 2.
2 for 2.
Maybe we can throw in some Lily's pizza with that.
Hey,
There we go. Fernando.
Yeah, Fernando.
Where is Nando?
My man.
But anyway, I think we have a pregnant pause.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on the agenda for us? Has anyone asked anything? One
about
thing.
it.
Lars Desis was asking, like on the vitamin D3.
Yeah.
Is it D3? He goes, well, how many we got to take? 1,800 pills a day? No, exactly what is it?
Well, the D3, the gummy D3s that I take,
Yeah.
has got 5,000 units in 2 gummies.
Okay, so it's 50.
2,500.
2,500. 2,500 milligrams?
Don't do the Trammell math.
Units, not milligrams.
Okay, units. 2,500 units.
Yeah.
All right, y'all go figure that out.
Yeah, now if you paid every single one of those $100, no, I'm just kidding.
We're getting a lot of zeros here.
Okay, yeah.
Too many zeros.
I have to go to work.
Yeah, he's got to go back to work. He's got to go back to. So, I think that's about all we have for today.
Yeah, I think that's honestly about it.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you guys. I really had fun.
Yeah.
So this has been Ask San Angelo Live. We do this once a week, and we've had Dr. James Vretis, who is the Tom Green County Health Authority and ER doc at Shannon, talking about the coronavirus.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
it. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you very much.